We've got such a great privilege ahead to hear my friend and colleague, Bill George, who has done more to inspire the new generation of leaders than almost anybody I know. I must tell you, I met Bill a few years ago when I came to Harvard to teach. He had just come away from a very, very successful stint, some 10 years, running the largest medical technology company in the world, Medtronic. And it was not only a successful businessman, he took it from what's called a market capitalization of some $1 billion to $60 billion over 10 years, 35% growth a year. But he was known as an enlightened businessman, someone who stood up and spoke out when the Enron scandal broke, stood up against some of the crookedness that was occurring in corporate America. But more importantly, there at Medtronic, inspired his colleagues, the people who worked there, and was a wonderful leader himself. Public television named him one of the top 25 business leaders of the past 25 years, and there have been numerous other accolades. But I must tell you that from my perspective, what Bill George represents is far more than his business accomplishments. He's turned his attention, his energies to helping to prepare a new generation of leaders. He's written two very important books, one on authentic leadership, and more recently, a book called True North. And the True North book is one that I now use in the classroom, and I teach a leadership development course here at Harvard, and I assign many other books by many other fine people whose names you would recognize. And when the reports came back from the students, the person who had the greatest influence on their thinking about themselves and about their leadership was Bill George. I want to emphasize, because of the setting in which you find yourselves, how important Bill's personal faith, his Christian faith, has been to him as a leader, and how much it has, I think, shaped his thinking about leadership and how much it shapes his writing. In a classroom at Harvard, he's not the first thing he brings up, but it comes out because people ask him about it. And he's one of the only professors at Harvard, a fairly secular place in some ways, who will talk to you about his relationship to God, and it's extremely meaningful to the younger generation. And Bill speaks to these young people just as he does to people of all generations. So I wish I could be there with you. I know you've got a great summit. I know some of the other folks are talking to you. Wendy Kopp is a colleague and a friend, and Chuck Colson is someone I worked with years ago, and I've just admired so much for what he's done. And Bill Hybels, of course, is internationally recognized figure. You've got a great lineup, but I'll tell you, you're in for a real treat with Bill George.